Thank you so much, Martin. If you've got a call for Larry or if you've got a question for Larry, call now 844-580-9326. About an hour away from your open mic section. Just leave us an open mic for free in the free WDBO app. 844-580-WDBO. Kelly is calling from Orlando. Got a question about her Odyssey. Go ahead, Kelly.
Hi.
Hi,
Very
Kelly.
glad you're feeling better.
Yeah.
Back on the show. Love listening to your show.
Well, thank you.
So I have an older Honda Odyssey, and I've just bought my second bottle of power steering fluid.
Uh-huh.
It seems like, it'll start whining and then needs to be capped off or topped off there. Is it okay if I keep driving on it?
Well, Kelly, listen, there's something leaking if you're having to add fluid to the power steering system. Now, I don't know where the leak is. The most common places would be your steering rack, the steering pump, or probably a power steering hose. Let me tell you where I've become concerned, your steering rack on that vehicle is right in front of the rear catalytic converter on that 3.5 VTEC motor. And any fluid that leaks out of that power steering rack or a hose or something like that could wind up blowing back and getting on the catalytic converter. Now, keep in mind, these catalytic converters get up to about 900 degrees, and that will ignite oil without any question whatsoever. So something like power steering fluid leaking back on top of it, depending on the amount of oil that would get on it, could ignite, and cause a fire. To put something like that off that's leaking, and we know that it's leaking, it wouldn't be prudent on our part to ignore it at all. It's something that definitely needs to be investigated and find out what it is and repair it. Those are great vehicles. I mean, I've got neighbors that's got '07 and '08 Honda Odysseys. They got a brand new car sitting in the parking lot, but they keep those old Odysseys around forever. They never get rid of them. I'm like, wow. But but they're great vehicles. They really are. They serve an awesome purpose.
Yeah.
So
yes, they are.
It's kind of like this. Steering rack, it'd be a little pricey. Maybe $1,000 or something like that if it is a steering rack. Power steering pump and hoses, of course, would be cheaper than that because they're nowhere near as labor or expensive of a part to replace. But, if there's any question on where the leak is originating from, what we will do is we put dye in the power steering system, and we actually run the car a little bit, turn the wheels 100 times, and find out where the leak's at. We put the dye in the system, then we take an ultraviolet light over everything that is related to the power steering system. And what it does is anywhere where there's a leak in that system, it glows bright yellow. So there's no question, on what it is once we do pinpoint it. We know 100% where the leak is actually originating from. But due to the fire aspect and the possibility of that, Kelly, I really, that really would concern me. And, the thing is, when you get something like that that's leaking and we're sitting out here maybe in some crazy traffic and, the cooling fan's kicking on underneath the hood and it's blowing all this air back and you got oil hitting on a 900-degree part, it's just a recipe for disaster. What's really funny, and a story to kind of go along with this, Hyundai and Kia are replacing just about every engine they ever built. And it's really funny on how this all come about. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration is making them replace all these engines because the engines would literally come apart. They're not making them replace the engines because the engines are bad. They're making them replace the engines because of the fire hazard that is associated with their engines failing. See, what happens is the engines will throw a rod, and when they do, they sling a rod right out of the oil pan. And when this happens, that engine oil gets on the catalytic converter, and the vehicle just bursts into flames. And it's very common. Almost every car you see burning on the side of the road is usually a Honda or a Kia. It's usually because of the same thing. They throw a rod, and it catches on fire. But it's amazing that the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration didn't make them replace the engines because the engines were lousy. They were making them replace these engines because when they fail, the cars burst into flames. So, it just, I'm kind of like, you got to be kidding me. But that's what's going on in our industry. So just, you see a car company and the government getting involved with oil hitting catalytic converters and catching on fire. We know what your problem is. And it's a whole lot cheaper than a motor replacement. Right. So we need to get on the ball with this one. Kelly, thank you so much for your call. You have a happy New Year.
Thank you, too.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much, Kelly. That opens up a line for you to hop on with Larry, 844-580-9326, 844-580-WDBO. You're listening to The Magic Mechanic Show right here on WDBO.
Now, the three big things.
Thanks for tuning in to the Magic Mechanic Radio Show and, of course, our new YouTube channel. For more automotive tips, tricks, and just general information, make sure you subscribe to our new YouTube channel.